Alright, we're live. We're recording.
Alright, well this is it.
This is episode 1.
Episode 1 of the Stocky Talk podcast.
MMA show.
The MMA show. It has not been an easy road today. I think we started at around 1 p.m.
It's currently
8:30 p.m.
And
this is our take 1. So
I would say it's pretty obvious that none of us majored in audio-visual school.
It hasn't been easy at all. From probably the easiest part was putting these mics together, and even that took quite a bit. We're here.
I learned that there's genders for audiovisual devices called splitters. Didn't know what a splitter was 2 weeks ago.
I know that not all splitters are created equal.
There's some with a few stripes and some with a few more, and if you plug them into certain holes, they're not going to receive well.
And shout out to Guitar Center for doing an absolute terrible job.
My boy,
at, helping us out.
My specialist Adam and his receptionist Cameron and Ethan beforehand, who I spent about 25 minutes on the phone with them over 2 phone calls.
Well, let's clue them in. So we had the wrong type of splitter for our mics, and we called Guitar Center because nowhere else had them. And Guitar Center said that they had to check with their guy that specializes in that kind of stuff. And so they asked us to put us on hold. So we were on hold long enough that the whole 20-25 minute drive there. Then we walk in the door, hung up on the hold, and then they tell us they didn't have it as soon as we walk in. So
we had probably traversed the entire distance of Lancaster City 2 to 3 times over.
It was a rough time.
We ended up at Best Buy getting a splitter at the end that looked like it was for headphones. So that's what we're using right now, plugged into our toner mics, which are pretty nice. I mean, he's got the retractable arm stand,
not bad,
the pop screen.
Not bad for a couple of newbies, you know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we're both pretty avid listeners to podcasts. We've been wanting to do this for a while.
Yeah.
And this is the first one, but it wasn't easy to get this thing going. Shout out to Eric from Gracie for coming through.
Yeah, Eric Forberger. He'll shoot your face. He's a professional photographer. He taught us how to. We couldn't even attach the camera to the stand.
No, we couldn't focus the camera. We called him. We called him, telling him that man, no matter how we turn the camera, it's not focusing. He goes, well, is it on? And we're like,
the batteries are plugged into the wall.
On? You have to turn the camera on
to see through it? What do you mean?
Oh, man.
So we learned that lesson the hard way. I think a lot of lessons are learned the hard way, you know. Especially when it comes to learning something new. So
for sure. But I'm excited for this new adventure we're doing. So
yeah, don't let perfect be the enemy of done. Yeah. So we're doing it live.
Yeah, we're just going for it. We really didn't have any time to rehearse this because we're planning it out really because we've been just trying to figure out how to get all this stuff to work.
Yeah,
you know? We had to get a new chair for Ross. I'm
a stocky guy. The big and tall section of outdoor chairs at Walmart should have a disclaimer: if you're shorter than 6 foot tall, your feet will not touch the ground. So I did not want to look like a kid getting his very first haircut in a barbershop, just swinging feet. So I got a nice stocky chair for Stocky Stock over here, and I
got a nice tall one for Daddy Longlegs over here. But yeah, here we go. So what we're gonna do is hopefully every Sunday is what we're shooting for. We're gonna film a podcast and talk about regional and mainstream MMA. Talk about event recaps, what's coming up, things like that. And of course, last night was UFC 229, probably the most anticipated UFC event in quite a while. Some are saying of all time. And
it didn't disappoint.
No,
at all.
I thought that I was going to be disappointed. I thought that the card wasn't going to hold up, but from the opening fight till the closing one, man, they were all great. And then the fight after the fight was pretty great too. So.
And before that, there was Art of War. What was it? 7, 8?
Art of War 8.
They've already got 8 Art of Wars.
Yeah.
Staying busy.
Most definitely.
At the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Was Eddie Alvarez in the building?
He was. He was sitting right behind me. Yeah.
He had a good seat.
Yeah, he was looking right.
You were commentating that one, right?
Yep. We're commentating with Bob Maloney and Justin Haskell.
The dream team.
Something like that. I wouldn't necessarily say that, but it was interesting. It was fun. Shout out to Bob and Haskell. It's an interesting group of guys for sure.
Got to mix it up, you know. It's good to have a wide variety of different ways to commentate, I think, and I think that the Art of War does a great job of making regional MMA more real for the fans.
They make it fun.
It's authentic. It's fun. It's not some not trying to be something they're not. So
yeah, they packed that house out, man. It was headlined with Joey Pfeiffer, body bags, and the kid didn't disappoint. You know, he's usually knocking guys out cold, but I mean, he ended up choking this guy out in the first round, and the guy ended up retiring. So
he put him in a body bag.
Put him in a body bag.
Quite literally.
It was a good show, man. I like it. I'm excited for the next one, November 10th. Heard they got a couple good guys on that card. So
yeah, I know a few of them actually. Well, I met them once or twice.
For sure.
That'll be. Where will that event be located?
It'll be right here in Lancaster at the Spooky Nook. Right here at the Spooky Nook.
Nook's in East Pete, is that right? Off of Manheim Pike?
Yep.
And that's what day? November
10th.
November 10th.
Saturday, November 10th. I'll be headlining the event. I'm the main event. Taking on Brandon Suber. And we got 7 guys, including me, from Gracie 717 on the card. So it should be a very eventful night, to say the least.
Who else from Gracie will be on the card?
I got my man Christian Carr. He just got matched up today.
Strictly business.
All business.
Nothing but business. He's like a mullet. He's business in the front but business in the back.
For sure, he had the mullet. He used to have it, but
I think he
said it flew away. You know, it flew away, and now he's all business. So
oh man,
nothing but. And then so we have myself, Christian Carr, Blaine Shutt, Mike Serrano, the pro debut of John Brennan, my left-hand man, and then got the amateur MMA debut of both Grant Swift and Josh Carr. So 7 of us all together on the card. I think there's 14 or 15 fights totaled. So it's going to be a stacked event, man.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
I heard John Brennan knows a thing or two about audiovisual.
Yeah,
maybe someday he'll share.
Yeah, shout out to John Brennan for not necessarily coming through and helping us out today. I hope he enjoyed Racetown Lake and getting some sun. And
tough life, getting on vacation
every weekend
at the lake with your wife and dog. It must really suck to be you. Not jealous whatsoever. So
yeah. Meanwhile, it's Struggle City over here in Lancaster, PA, trying to put these mics together. And
so John's fighting Ed Superman Shoot.
Yeah. You call it a fight,
yeah,
something like that. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one.
Ed Shoop, he wrestled in what district? So he actually wrestled a guy that I went to high school with, Eric Resch, back in 2008. He beat him, and I was like, man, he's pretty good. But I think he got 6th in states in wrestling, and he's got how many fights now? Amateur, 12-12 or 13-13 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah. I've been on the same card as him a couple of times. I don't know him too well.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I'm excited for John, man. It's a good fight.
He's on a streak, isn't he?
Yeah, John's doing well, man. He's doing real well for himself. So I'm excited for that pro debut, man. He's helped me out a long way. I owe a lot of my success to John for sure.
Yeah, I go to John Brennan Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ, on Tuesdays and Thursdays
out in Lititz.
Out in Lititz, back in my hometown. It's
nice.
It's fun. He makes a lot of office references during instruction. Makes a lot of highly relatable analogies, anal analogies.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I say, oh, it's like that, yeah, same but different, which I'm not quite sure if it's the same or if it's totally different. So, but I definitely pay attention to the instruction. I get a lot better training with him, and he's fought a lot of the same. I mean, I only have 2 cage fights, but we have a common opponent in Dwayne Crispy Shields, and I grappled against Bart Pierre and
Dwayne Shields. He actually just fought this Friday as well at Art of War 8. Yeah, he dominated the guy. He fought this I don't remember the kid's name. I'm sure I got it on my phone somewhere. But he fought this kid who was doing a whole lot of showboating, putting his hands behind his back. I think there was a lot of guys that night that seemed like they were trying to be the next McGregor. I guess because McGregor was fighting Saturday.
Okay.
So a lot of guys were trying to get
common misconception.
Yeah, and it didn't go so well. You know, Dwayne Shields put the wood to that kid.
I guess it kind of was that way across the board. If you're Conor McGregor or kind of like that, let's say, you know, given I bet on Conor McGregor to win,
hey, I did too, man. I fell into the hype train. The only time I've ever rooted for the guy, and
because whenever I didn't believe, then he won. So I figured if I believed and he won, then I'd be right for once. But I was not.
Yeah.
But so yeah, hats off to Dwayne. He tough guy, good guy. You know, just a fighter's fighter. You know,
he's a tough kid,
tough guy.
And a good kid.
Speaking of drawing analogies between Art of War and the UFC, there's sort of that you could say when Mark Crumrine fought against Andre Petroski. So I would say that Mark Crumrine in this instance would have been Conor McGregor, who has one punch knockout power with his right hand, and Andre was probably very, very close to a state champion. He beat the best wrestler I've ever trained with in states. Like he was just a hell of a wrestler and overall grappler. Now he's fought a couple of other guys from Lancaster County. And so we thought, okay, grappler versus striker, and I mean, you were there, you're calling it. What do you think?
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it was. It was a wrestler versus a puncher, and I've been hit by Mark, man. And from the little bit that I can remember, it hurts and it's not fun. Mark's got a brick for a right hand, and he looked like he was trying to set it up, and then when it landed, man. And Petroski went down. I thought it was over. I think the crowd thought it was over. But then Petroski, man, the kid's a veteran. He scrambled his way back up, got on top of Mark, and was able to ride him out the rest of the round, pound him out towards the end, and get that TKO in his pro debut. So hats off to him
ground
too.
And pound. I think Mike Bickings was so kind as to broadcast that fight, and I tuned in right at the right time and caught that. And you can ask my neighbors. I mean, I was screaming. I lost my voice the whole weekend.
Yeah, it was hard because I've trained with Mark. I've known Mark,
and I was just excited. Both ways. It was just it's hard to be a fan of both people that are fighting each other at the same time. But I am.
Yeah.
But I was just howling because just back and forth. Anything could have happened at that point.
Most definitely. Yeah, it was difficult. Commentary is a lot of fun. I enjoy doing it. But if you know the guys fighting, sometimes it's a little hard to not be biased.
Right.
So I'm trying to give both guys props, and then right in front of me, Petroski's pounding on Mark, literally right in front of me. And I just want to be shouting and giving advice to Mark, but I have to stay neutral and just do commentary. It was tough, man. It was tough for sure. And
if you give him advice, at least when he watches the YouTube video, he'll be able to catch it for the next time. But
yeah, definitely.
I know that I'm not going to have that problem when Gracie 717 fights. Like, I'm going to probably be the most objective commentator that we have in the building.
Because you're commentating November 10th. That's what I heard, yeah.
That's what I heard. There might be some truth to that rumor, Stay tuned. But if I were to, hypothetically speaking, if I were to commentate, which I would love to, I think that would be just huge fan. I think I'd just be the most objective and unbiased person. I mean, if you're on the card, I don't think I'd be able to root for or against you, but we'll see.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
It's a good time. But speaking of fights, what'd you think of that Derek Lewis fight on Saturday?
I bet you that if you polled people from across the country, he wasn't the only one with hot balls right then. Because I flew out of my chair and I almost had a seizure. I was on the ground like a crab on its shell. I was just I asked my friends. I was flailing on the ground. What the hell just happened? I mean, Volkov had him the fight lasted for 14 minutes and 49 seconds.
It was almost over.
So he had him for 14 minutes.
It was looking like a 30-27 across the board.
Yeah, and Derek Lewis just took that hand, and it was as if, he had one last shot to shoot for Ronda Rousey's attention back in the day when he used to
with the Travis Brown.
Oh yeah, when he used to get her on social media, he just knew that he's got heart, man. The guy's got nothing but heart, and
Nothing but heart in the right hand.
And the right hand. And his jumping karate kid kicks and shit were pretty cool.
Yeah, he's got that jumping switch kick. Yeah.
It was pretty cool. I don't think I can do it. I think that Derek Lewis could probably out-eat me. And I usually pride myself on how much I can stuff in the gut, but...
You don't say. It was a good fight, man. It was a good scrap. I was hoping that Lewis would... he started strong. I thought he would start a little bit stronger. He was talking about that he didn't need more than 5 minutes. But, you know, he ended up needing just under 15. But it was a good fight, man. But the post-fight speech is probably one that's going to go on forever.
If anyone listening doesn't follow Derek Lewis on Instagram and has an Instagram, you're making a severe mistake.
What is it? The Beast?
The Black Beast?
I think it's the Beast UFC, his Instagram.
Okay. Yeah.
I could check. He's probably got the funniest Instagram in the game.
Yeah. It's definitely...
Even Joe Rogan brought it up during the post-fight.
It's rated R, you know.
It's up there. Yeah, the Beast UFC.
He has some pretty gritty stuff going on, but I know I follow him. I love it.
Yeah, he's great, man.
So
and that was the third to last fight. Who was the co-main? We had Tony Ferguson and Anthony Pettis.
And then in between there was Dominic Reyes and OSP. That was a great fight. You know
that too.
I think that if it was a UFC fight night, that could have been like a headlining fight, but it was one of the biggest fight cards, and you know, hats off to those guys. But then there's, you know, Elvin Kiwi's on an 11-fight win streak. Tony Ferguson.
Yeah. And
you can kind of see why, and he is the right amount of crazy.
Just the right amount, man. He's coming off his knee surgery was 6 months ago, and you know he's already back, and that was a full-blown, torn off the bone type of knee surgery, and he's back and fighting a former world champion Anthony Pettis, and Pettis cracked him with a right hand, broke his hand off his skull.
Anthony Pettis is no joke.
He's a tough dude, man.
And well, it just seemed like the more they bled, the happier they were.
It got kind of weird, man. They were split open, sticking their tongue out at each other.
There was a time where
I was getting a little uncomfortable. I was watching it at my parents' house. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah, it went from 0 to 100, and it just seems like when you have such a severe knee injury like Tony Ferguson had, you know, Dominic Cruz was calling the show, and you know, you want to hear about a pro fighter that's had knee injuries in the past. Dominic Cruz can tell you all about it.
No one knows better than him.
Yeah, and he's saying that he would have taken 6 months at least before training, or 9 months before training, and then a year until a fight to consider. And Tony fought less than 6 months.
Yeah.
And then the post fight, I don't know if you caught that, but
in the cage or the presser?
I think it was the presser.
Okay.
In the presser, Aokiwi was saying how he doesn't really trust a lot of doctors anymore.
Yeah.
And he just took it in his own hands and did his own magic physical therapy, but it didn't work out.
He was saying that he's going back to school to get his degree in, I want to say, physical therapy or something along those lines.
Because he was telling that would make sense. I think he was telling some of the interviewers to call him Dr. Ferguson.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Aokiwi, I don't know.
But yeah, he's out there, man. He definitely has a really unorthodox way of training. He was saying that he hasn't sparred in 5 years. He said he mainly just does strength and conditioning, pad work, and then jiu-jitsu.
And the Wing Chun doll.
Yeah. Just tons of unorthodox conditioning and all kinds of wacky stuff. But it works
as well. He looks like he could do the cha-cha slide better than anyone I know.
He's doing something.
I mean, when he's switching his stance, like I can't really imitate it because I can't really dance.
Yeah.
I mean, I was at a wedding yesterday, and trust me, I felt like I could dance then, but the lights are on. No way. Puts my parents to shame, I guess. But Aokiwi, man, he's got rhythm.
Yeah, he's got a real unorthodox approach. But if it's one of those things that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. You know, and if he's on an 11-fight win streak, former UFC interim champion, or to him he's the real champ. You know, there's that weird trifecta at the top between him, Khabib, and Conor. You know, I think that fight with Tony and Khabib, it's got to happen. But we'll see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that it's those three. I think that, you know, Pettis is no joke, but Khabib,
just another level.
It's just another level.
Just another level, man.
So,
yeah, Pettis broke his hand for, I think, the second or third time in the last few years. So that's one of those things you just got to take a lot of time off.
I've never broken a hand, so I don't know what that's like, but I know that I know people that have, and it seems like one of those injuries where if you don't take the appropriate amount of time, it has a higher chance of re-breaking and sort of derailing your career. And,
yeah, I've met quite a few people that have broken their hands.
Putting it on pause for is it they call it a boxer's fracture?
It depends on where you break it, but
Got it. But
yeah, it's one of those things, man. There's nothing that'll help it other than rest. So we'll see. But then the main event, I know I lost a couple bets.
I lost.
I'm not gonna put a number out there, but I lost a couple.
You're not the only one, man. Me too.
And I'm never on that Conor hype train. I almost never am. And this time, for some reason, I thought that all that psychological warfare would play into the fight, but it didn't play into the fight. It played into after the fight.
Yeah.
But it didn't play into the fight itself. You know, Khabib stuck to his game plan, and Conor, I don't know if he had an injury or what, but he seemed a little flat. His punches looked slow.
Flat is a good word. He seemed like he was a little sleepy.
Yeah.
And, you know,
I think the nerves, I don't know if the nerves got to him.
I don't know.
I don't think anyone will be told, because I think he's the type of guy that'll play it close to the vest.
Right.
So we'll see. But
I think that
Khabib followed the game plan good, man. He did a good job getting him out of there.
I think that when Conor connects, he's used to being able to hit and not get hit.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the numbers breakdown was, but I'm sure we could find out. But Khabib landed some bombs.
Yeah,
you know, he
that
landed
right
that
hand,
overhand right. That
I see a lot of wrestlers land, and that reminded me a lot of what was it, Danny Castillo versus Charlie Brenneman years ago. When you fight a guy that has such a heavy offensive wrestling style, you tend to start dropping your hands and you're anticipating that shot, whether it's a sprawl or to dive those underhooks in.
Round 2 or round 3, didn't McGregor keep his left hand real low?
He was keeping his hands a little lower than normal. He always keeps his hands low, but he had them a little lower than normal the whole fight. And Khabib looked like he was going to fake that shot and came right over top with an overhand. I mean, it's a really slick
I think
setup.
One of my favorite fighters of all time is Dan Henderson, and I felt a little bit of an H-bomb in that right hand. And almost. I felt, you know,
there's only one H-bomb.
There is only one.
But and Dan Henderson, and his stance is he cocks that thing.
Everyone knows it's coming.
He peels the stickers off the mat. He throws it all the way from the bleachers.
Yeah, he's throwing a Hail Mary. He's like, I think Dan Henderson and Brett Favre are pretty similar. Kind of real American guys, just, you know, meat and potatoes, and they like what they like. And
yeah, I don't know Brett Favre very well.
Yeah, he plays a sport with a ball, and it's not fighting, so I don't really watch it that much. To be honest, I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that one of the most impressive things about Khabib is how he makes it look like other people are bad when they're really, really good.
Yeah.
It's, you know, the first round, he didn't punch him hardly, but when he passed his guard and his head positioning on top, you know, when you can keep your forehead underneath some guy's chin and they can't shrimp and they can't re-guard, and to have someone's legs completely extended in between you with their legs crossed for an extended period of time is absolutely terrifying to most grapplers if you're on the bottom.
He just has some unreal top pressure and control. You know, I think it just stems from him being a sambo and wrestling since he was a child. You know, I mean, everybody jokes about wrestling with bears, but he was in the wrestling room since he was a little kid. You know,
right.
And I've had the pleasure once or twice training with UFC fighter Daryl Horcher, who fought Khabib on real short notice. When no one else would fight him, Horcher stepped up. I think it was like 10 or 11 days notice and fought him. And Horcher's one of the strongest guys that I've ever worked with, let alone, you know, a bunch of guys say that about him.
Right.
And Horcher said when Khabib was on top of him, it was like someone parked a car on top of him. And Horcher's a strong guy.
Parked a car on top of him.
He just said that his hips. He said it wasn't necessarily, you know, how his strength and how he was grabbing him. It was just like his hips and it's just his pressure. He said it was just unreal. And it showed, man. Whenever he gets on top of somebody, he gets that figure four on their legs and just mount. Man, there's no getting up.
And the other thing he does a great job was hand fighting while grappling on top.
That wrist ride.
He wrist rides. And Conor McGregor, you know, for bless his heart, he was trying to build frames and get underhooks, and he was having to settle for high chicken wing overhooks, and basically having his elbow. When you're setting up a head and arm choke, or you're setting up any, I thought Conor was going to get his left arm ripped off with that Kimura. Now, luckily his back was against the cage, but I mean, Khabib did a great job of separating his elbows and arms from his body on top of the top pressure, and I'm just kind of like, well, if you take his left shoulder out off his body, that's kind of Conor's moneymaker. Please don't do that. I'd like to see him use it again. I'm glad that the neck crank was the finish ultimately.
Yeah,
but
he didn't even have that under the chin. He was more just cranking that side of his face and his neck.
I've had that done to me a few times, and I'm sure you probably have had it a few times or done to other people.
Yeah,
that's unpleasant.
It's terrible.
It's like probably the worst, because it's not only do I think my bottom teeth are going to come, back in the back of my throat, or that I feel like I'm going to be permanently discombobulated as well as the late Stephen Hawking, rest in peace. Like this, you can't turn your head to left or right, but you can, you almost want to get choked. It's like a relief.
Yeah, it looked like right
no
when
one
he
wants
went
to
to
get
tap.
choked, but that shit sucks.
Yeah, right when he went to tap, it looked like it did slide under, but I think when he tapped, it still was the crank.
And emotions were high. If you've ever seen Rusumir Polaris do any grappling, he's kind of notorious for holding along for a little bit too long.
A little more than a little.
I think a little more than a little. And I think Herb Dean had to kind of physically separate Khabib to get him off Conor McGregor.
Yeah,
maybe that was my perception, but
part of that was probably him trying to teach him a little bit of a lesson.
I think that in between every round, Khabib tried to do a little bit of tutoring when he kind of was trying to walk back to his corner. I mean, the guy, I can't understand what he was saying, but I know that was with bad intention. So
most definitely. What was your thoughts on the fight after the fight, the post fight brawl?
I mean,
it caught me off guard.
I mean, he looked like an eagle. He looked kind of a lot like that.
Jumping off that cage.
He does that weird, when he jumps, he kind of looks like a hardcore parkour. It's like a video game character. You played like a Crash Bandicoot as a kid.
Yeah.
When he had bicycles his legs. Well, if those were like talons, I mean, he literally would be like a swooping eagle on Dylan Dennis. And
I want to know what Dylan Dennis said to him that got him that fired up. Because, I mean, you just whipped Conor McGregor's ass for, 4 rounds? It was 4 rounds to none, basically. You dropped him. You strangled him. You made him quit.
If it was riding time, it would have been like 13 minutes.
You just became the undisputed world champion. And then you're going to jump out of the cage for some blonde-haired nobody? Fuck that guy.
Gordon Ryan would agree with you.
But I mean, why blow all that, But, like, again, emotions are high, and I guess it just got to him. I think the shit talk did get to Khabib, just not in the fight. He let it get to him after the fight. But that really caught me off guard. I couldn't see him doing that, but obviously he did. And then Khabib's guys jumped in and socked Conor. And, man, now those guys are... I don't know if one or all of them were actual fighters in the UFC, but Dana said
they were.
He said they're gone. Well, I know
they just seem to come from nowhere.
Yeah,
they were kind of like.
Dana said in the post-fight presser that they're gone. He said they'll never be here again. But I don't know if that means that they're cut from the UFC, because I don't know if they were actually fighters on the roster. I don't know that for certain.
I couldn't tell you who they were, but I can tell you that...
I don't want to say all Dagestanis look the same, but it was hard. I couldn't pick them out of the lineup. So
they do have the same beard and the same buzz cut. So
yeah, I thought I'll stop while I'm ahead.
I've got a beard and short hair too, but I guess it's just that hairstyle.
Yeah, so we'll see, man. And then also they were saying that Conor got his purse, but they withheld Khabib's.
Yeah, what?
Yeah. Something to do with the commission. Dana was saying it's not his call, the UFC's call, it was the commission's call. Because when you fight, the promoter isn't the one that hands you your check, it's the athletic commission.
Oh.
So they said they're going to withhold the money until they review the tape. So we'll see, man, but that's quite a few $1 million that he's missing out on.
How many buys did they have? Do we know that number?
No, Dana said he didn't know. Said he didn't care either, just said he was just disgusted with the whole thing.
He was upset. I don't know if you've ever been in trouble with your dad growing up, but it's worse to have...
Once or twice.
Maybe once or twice, but It's always worse when they're disappointed instead of mad. I almost rather be mad. He just seemed very, very disappointed. All right, we're live.
Do you know how to crop it? So
yeah, I'll be able to crop it.
Shit. Well,
where were we, Zach? Talking about disappointments again.
Yeah.
Much like our... It's a common theme of today.
Disappointment.
Overcoming disappointment. You know, Connor, if he ever wants to fight in the UFC with dignity again, he's got to overcome the disappointing loss that occurred because he got smashed. Habib, if he ever wants to fight in the UFC again, he's got to somehow help Dana White get over how much disappointment he made him feel because he's not going to have a visa. And if we want to figure out this podcast, we're going to have to figure out the disappointment, which is using this
goddamn camera.
Goddamn.
Yeah, we're having it's struggle city over here. Yeah, it's.
I mean, I think the 16.
It's now 10 p.m. 10:05 p.m. We've been here since 1. For a 40-minute podcast.
I don't get tired. I got 6 jobs.
Yeah. Speaking of jobs, man. Well, I'm off tomorrow because of holiday.
I'm not. I'll be there at 7.
Cool.
But I don't get tired. So disappointments, you know.
Well, in a nutshell, the podcast will be similar to this, just hopefully a lot better.
Yeah,
a lot smoother.
We're looking for a better time next Sunday.
So if anybody out there is like an IT guy or knows how to do
any audio visual professionals that are not amateurs like ourselves, like Zach's a professional fighter and I'm a professional marketer, but
it's about as far as it goes.
But when you get to outside of marketing and fighting, we're kind of worthless, I'd say. At least when it comes to
I'm good at a couple things. Don't sell me too short.
I'm not.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Can agree with that. Yeah. But nah, you're all right. But yeah, we could use a helping hand for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 hours for a 40-minute podcast is.
It's about right. Sounds about right. That's average, right? You know.
It's been a long day, but I'm happy to get the first one. We've been talking about this for over a year.
If you look at it that way, we have been working on this episode 1 for about 1 year. So, even if the fact that we can get it done, I mean, that's kind of incredible.
It's not uploaded yet.
You know, I had a cat. Let me just preface this. For about 2 months, I was telling people how stoked I was to start a podcast. All I had in here was a futon and one of these toner microphones still in the box. Oh yeah, I'm making tons of progress. I already bought the microphone. Didn't set it up. Didn't have my domain registered. StockyTalk.com. Check it out. Under construction right now. I need to build it, but it's there. It's a nice lorem ipsum blank, really sweet WordPress template. I can't wait to use that as a sandbox. But I was telling people for a couple months, hey, I am going to be doing a podcast. I'm super excited. It's going to be any day now. Stay tuned. And I think they stopped staying tuned because they thought I was full of shit. But
yeah,
now
I just kept it on the down low.
Yeah, you're a little smarter than me.
Because I didn't know if it would actually happen. I mean, we're doing it right now, and I don't know if it's actually working.
Well, hey, I guess everyone will believe it when they see it. So
yeah. But yeah, basically once a week we'll recap the UFC or MMA events that are going on, and then talk about what's coming up next. You know, as it gets closer to my fight, we'll be able to talk more about the lead up to that and what's going on. But
yeah, follow us on Instagram at Stocky Talk Podcast.
Stocky Talk Podcast.
We'll be displaying the podcast on the WordPress website, on YouTube, on SoundCloud for those that just would like to listen to it, and eventually also on iTunes, making it a podcast and not just a vlog. And I'd love to hear any feedback. You know, I know that in the beginning I highlighted my sweet Jesus sneakers, my Christ Force Ones, my Birkenstocks. So, you know, I may or may not have scratched my head and played with my nose a whole bunch during this, so feel free to give me shit for that. But
so it was a rough first episode.
Yeah,
but,
I've got a face for radio,
you know,
but you know, it's
hey,
fine.
My first fight was very rough, and now 41 fights later, I'm almost okay.
Hey, hopefully it won't take us 41 podcasts.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take 41 episodes before we're doing okay.
Oh man.
But But yeah, man, so it was fun. It's something that hopefully we can look back on, you know,
and laugh
many episodes from now and
I
crack up as hard as we were cracking up tonight.
I hope you guys out there had a few laughs. I mean, I know I did. Even if they're at my expense, I mean, good. That's what I like to. That's what I like to see. Get the people going.
Oh my God.
So yeah, we'll be doing this every Sunday. We'll be covering regional and professional MMA. Just speaking about martial arts. Doesn't have to be anything in particular. You know, consistency is king. And just getting after it and trying to give you people what you want. And
eventually have some guests too. Yeah. Whether it's, you know, in-studio guests, figure out how to do a call-in guest.
We might need a selfie stick for an iPad. Yeah. You know, next week we might be using this camera, so we might as well just use a damn dongle. You know.
That's why I got my phone on standby just in case this whole expensive camera doesn't work out. And
maybe we'll do a Q&A. You know, you guys ask us some questions or make some comments, and we'll field it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, this is the first rough episode, man. This is definitely going to get cleaned up as we go. I want to implement a lot more stuff, a lot more current events, a lot more implement fan questions that we could post on Instagram. You know, if we're going to be doing the podcast on Sunday, what I'm going to look to do is maybe on Saturdays or Sunday mornings, make a post and, you know, for fan questions, and you guys can comment on it. We'll answer your questions, you know, on air. So, you know, a lot of things that we're gonna do. Like I said, this is just a rough.
We're doing it for fun.
This was very rough.
For fun for us, for fun for you.
Yeah, hopefully everybody gets to enjoy it, you know. Podcasts get me through the workday. I mean, I work full-time Monday through Friday from, you know, 5 to 2:30, and thankfully I'm allowed to wear headphones at my job. So I'm listening to podcasts all day, all different podcasts, you know, whether it's MMA related or non-MMA related, but it helps me get through the day. So if I could do something to help out some other people and just to make some people laugh.
A little bit.
Yeah, man. Hey.
You know, and
it'll be fun. We've been wanting to do it for a while, so I'm excited.
Dude, what a good day. So you guys out there listening, you have a good day too.
Yeah. And give us a follow on social media for sure. Yeah. Stocky Talk Podcast on Instagram and YouTube, Stocky Talk Podcast as well.
That's right. All right.
Sweet.
Cool. Done.